You are now entering Film Code.
I see, Nate. You're fond of me lobster.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
Your ass looks like about 150 pounds of chewed bubble gum, Kyle. You know that? Say it, sir! I don't believe you people.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Now answer my question. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Film Code. My name is Phoenix Clouden, and I'm joined with the great Zach Sneef. Zach, how are you, sir?
Hey, Phoenix, doing great, man. Glad to be back. Glad to talk about some movies here with you. I feel like it's been a minute, so
Yeah.
things are going great, though. Going to be traveling here pretty soon, so excited about that. And yeah, but most excited about getting into these movies with you. I haven't talked about any in so long, I feel like, on the channel, so I'm really excited to talk about them.
Yeah, very excited. And, we are coming up on the end of our third season. It's been a wild ride, man. It's kind of crazy when you look back on it and think of everything that we talked about and discussed this season and all the cool stuff we did. I mean, this has been kind of a great season of Film Code. So really happy to finally be wrapping it up and looking forward to the next season. This episode we are gonna go through a couple of the films that we saw recently that we didn't get a chance to talk about on the show, at least not this season. That have come out that we have some thoughts on. So we're gonna start a little bit early. We didn't get to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie on this show. So
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Yeah, so on Super Mario, I feel like it was definitely a really fun movie. I really enjoyed myself. It really didn't break any boundaries for me as far as movies go, but it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I thought it was really good, and for a video game movie, it was really well done. So I was actually very happy with how it came out because I was a little nervous at first with how they would do the Mario voice.
of course,
I thought it was decent. I didn't think it was that bad.
yeah, it wasn't distracting at all. Like I never felt
not at all.
like, and surprisingly, I have to say Chris Pratt is fairly good at voice acting. I never felt like I heard Chris Pratt. You know what I'm saying? I never felt like I heard Star-Lord coming out of Mario. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Yeah, overall, like I was really kind of taken aback by the response to it because I'm like, this is a Mario movie. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, excuse me, I don't know how many of y'all have played Mario. Probably all of you. But I don't recall us ever being thoroughly, impressed with the story of the Mario game. So I thought it was kind of weird that people were like, "Oh, the story's not great." I'm like, "It's Mario, bro. Like, what story?" I'm like, but is in terms of creating a Mario movie and a story around that character, I thought they did excellent. And I mean, we talked about Chris Pratt, but Jack Black is really who stole the show, like as Bowser. So for me, I was over the moon impressed with it. I really liked, like, for me, like it doesn't even have nostalgia factor. I know obviously we grew up with it, but I played 2 Mario games max, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, I didn't catch a lot of the Easter eggs and stuff like that. Once the carts came out, that was the best part for me because I'm like, that's the game I played. I played Mario Kart like hardcore. So that was awesome for me. I thought the voice acting was solid. Anya Taylor-Joy's Peach, that was excellent. So it worked for me. It satisfied every need for me, and now it's entered the $1 billion club. So overall, I loved it.
Yeah, I think my favorite part also was the Mario Kart racing. I mean, I grew up playing the Wii with my family, and having the controller and actually using the wheel to move the car.
Right.
So I really did enjoy that part, and I played a lot of the Mario games growing up, like especially on the Wii. I think I own like almost all the ones that were on the Wii because it's what, that's Nintendo.
Right.
So I played those very often and I was really happy with what came out of the movie. The only thing I think they would have done differently is made it a little bit longer because some of the story felt a little rush for me, especially after kind of like the Mario Kart racing when they fell in the water. They kind of very quickly figured out how to get to where they're going.
Right, right.
And I just wish it was like fleshed out a little more.
Yeah, I've played most of my Mario. I played the original, one on the Nintendo with the gun. That was great. And then I played the rest on 64. So I played both Mario Kart and Donkey Kong on Nintendo 64, which Nintendo 64 is the greatest system ever created. But yeah, so that's where most of my like nostalgia for it was built in. One of my other favorite scenes was Mario's training scene. Where he's trying to get, all the levels and understanding. I love that scene. That
so
was
relatable, right?
Yeah, very relatable if you play the game and you failed many a times just at certain points. That was the part that made me laugh the most because I was like just remembering stages and going like, oh, I feel you, Mario. So that was great. That was probably my favorite scene. So wrap this up real quick. What would you give Super Mario Bros?
Yeah, overall, I would give it a 3.5 stars out of 5. I feel like that's a fair rating. Like I said, didn't break any boundaries, but it was a great, fun movie.
Absolutely. I'm a little bit higher. I'm going 4 stars on Super Mario Bros. Like I said, it was fun. It was fun. I wasn't expecting much, and it still delivered. I'm with you though. It could have been a little bit longer. I would have liked a little bit more, but as far as it goes for the younger audience who was still relatively new to Mario,
yeah,
I think it's perfect for them. So solid 3.5 stars from Zach, 4 from me. We're gonna move on to another film that we didn't get a chance to talk about. This time let's talk about Evil Dead Rise.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So, Zach, have you seen any of the Evil Dead movies, or is this your first one?
I have only seen the first one and this one. So I haven't I was trying to watch the others, but by the time I got there, I was told that you didn't need to watch them to watch this one. So I was like, okay, I'll just watch this one then after I watched the first one. Yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. It's not a genre for like that I normally seek out for my personal self. I do watch everything. So I see different horror genres and such, and I really did enjoy it. It's just not something I guess I would normally see, like if it was me going to pick out a movie, you know what I mean? So, but I really, the craziest part for me is I think one of my favorite scenes is like in there for 2 seconds. But I love the way they did it because it was so well done. It's the title scene.
Oh yes.
Oh, it was so good. I know that sounds so stupid because the movie is like there's a lot of great parts in that movie.
Right.
But the title scene was just like a chef's kiss. Like it was so it was so good. It was so well done. And I think they did a great job with that. But overall, yeah, the kills are great. The acting is great. I enjoyed it. What about you, Phoenix?
I'm a little bit on the opposite side there. I mean,
Okay.
while I did enjoy a lot of it, I'm with you where like the best scene for me was the title scene. I'm like seeing that, like, I mean, obviously it's called Evil Dead Rise, and then seeing the girl come out of the water and then the titles rise up behind her. That was just sick. Like, in fact, that entire opening scene is probably my favorite part of the movie because it's just it's way more stylized, I think, than the rest of the film. To me, the rest of the film kind of falls back on a lot of horror tropes that you've seen in millions of other horror movies. but that opening scene felt very distinctly Evil Dead. So I was very impressed with that. The movie itself, I found myself very frustrated with. I just couldn't get behind character decisions. I'm not a big gore fan. I've noticed that about myself. Like in terms of horror movies, I like good scares. I like, I love a slasher, but gore, like especially like this level of gore, it's not really my bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that it's bad. It's just I know that's not, much like you, it's not the horror that I would seek out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the only thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. A little bit too much gore. And I know for people who are fans of Evil Dead, that's par for the course. So if you're a fan of it, then it works. But I know for me, I just wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah, I do kind of wish the story was kept in the cabin personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because that cabin, the A-frame style house that they use,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous, and
Yeah.
I think it would have been so cool to do it in that setting. I thought it was like beautiful. The setting scene, like the
So
opening scene, it
nice.
was so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's amazing how like drastic the changes from that opening scene to the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie is literally just darkness, right? Shrouded in darkness. It's raining because of course it is. Um, everything's either gray or black or what I'm saying, just dark. And I'm like, part of what works for I think a lot of the horror movies that we saw early last year and some this year is that, there's you can still make terrifying movies in the daytime. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
Scream did that.
exactly, right? You could still make really, really good horror movies, and it doesn't have to be all set in this gloom and doom. And to me, it wasn't even that I was just turned off from all of it. It was that I didn't have enough time to care about the characters, and then we go to the extreme and gore, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did like the kill scenes. I thought my favorite one was the wood chipper for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I do think as far as kill scenes go, that was my favorite, was the wood chipper, the way that they did that scene. So yeah, I did really enjoy it.
I think my
If I had to
favorite.
pick a least favorite part, I would also say the stupid decisions the character made.
Oh God.
Like, I think my least favorite part is when the daughter opens the door.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? You just saw your mom act like a crazy, like, I don't care how young the kid is, like, who is actually that stupid? You know what I mean?
To me,
That's kind of where I'm at with that.
yeah, to me, the dumber scene was surprisingly near the beginning when the earthquake happens and he sees like, oh, it's a hole in the ground. Let me just keep going down this hole, and then I just happen to stumble across the grave of this book that is protected by I don't know how many protective coins and crosses and all of that. I'm gonna open it anyway, and I'm gonna grab the exact 3 vinyl records that I need. I'm like, no, like all of that just super contrived, just ridiculous. I understand we got to get to that point, but that was just ridiculous. Um, yeah, I wasn't a fan of any of it. Probably my favorite kill is when she bites the guy's eye out and then spits it down another guy's throat. Like that to me was probably the best kill. But yeah, all overall, just I get it if it's your bag, if it's your jam, it's not the jam for me. So me personally, I think I ended up with a 3.5, but I could probably go lower.
Yeah, I also am going to go with 3.5. So that's the rating I gave it.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some cool things to it. Not to bag on it entirely, which we kind of did that whole time, but there are some aspects to it that are really cool. But it's no Scream 6. I'll put it like that. It's no Scream 6. All right. Let's move on to this fun one. Let's talk Air.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So,
Ugh.
Air.
Do we have to? I'm just kidding. We will, but
We will. Yeah, Air stars Matt Damon, Viola Davis, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, and it's the story of how Nike was able to sign Michael Jordan and eventually create the Air Jordan shoe. And I wish I could tell you that I feel the same way that apparently a lot of people feel about this movie. I do not. Like, this was the most bland milk toast movie I think I've seen all year. Like, like very, very bland. I mean, if you already know, like, I don't know how you don't know that Nike signed Jordan and that's how we got the Air Jordan. I don't know how you don't know that, but even if you didn't and you were like, oh, how does the story come to be? It's not an incredibly compelling story.
yeah. Honestly, I would have rather them started with the owner of the company selling shoes out of his car. Like, I feel like they could have made that a better story than the birth of Air Jordan.
Yeah. Especially because, like I said, it's a story that you know how it ends. And unless there's some other aspect to it that, I'm saying, that we're diving into, then it's a nothing story. And like we start
Yeah.
with him gambling, and then he wins and then he loses, and we see, oh, he's a guy who likes to take risks, right? But we never come back to that at all. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we introduce the character, and that's that. Like, we don't. It's not like, hey, Sonny had a gambling problem, man. You know what I'm saying? And there's some other aspect we can dive into, or his family Michael's family situation. We don't really dive into that. The boss, Ben Affleck, who plays the boss, does he have some reservations? What is his life story? How does that tie into this deal? None of that is explored, and instead we follow this very plain, narrow path from, hey, I saw this guy's tape, I understand why he's the guy, and I want to sign him. And that's the whole movie. All the way through.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just hard, right? Because when I have a movie like this, which is like, what would you consider this, Phoenix? Is it like a company biopic? What would you?
It's kind of well, not of the company. It's kind of like it's like a moment in time, I guess you would call it. It's not really a biopic because no one is being.
I mean, it's telling the story of the guy who created,
kind of
loosely. You know what I mean? Like, it
yeah,
follows him through the whole thing. Like, it's all from his perspective.
right.
So that's why I'm like confused as to where this would fall in films, like, because there's many films like this. But anyways, yeah, when you see, but like when there's a movie about a company or a person, I always unfortunately compare it to Wolf of Wall Street. And like, that movie is so incredible, and then when you get something like this, it's just so boring. Like, it bored me to tears, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen even people who try to do recreations of Wall Street, and they do it poorly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what happened with Spinning Gold. It's about a record deal, I guess, record producer, and it was a horrible movie, right? And with this movie, you know, there was nothing thrilling about it, right? They're not throwing crazy parties at the Nike office. They're not going out getting wasted and like then
Right.
they're like drunk the next day trying to close a deal. Like there's nothing exciting about this movie. This the most thrilling part about this movie, which sucks to say, is the part when he knew what the other executives at other companies would promise her son.
Yeah.
And it's so boring still. Like it is so boring. I don't understand how people have loved this movie. I think there's a lot of bias to this being a movie about Michael Jordan related and to, you know, connected to Air Jordan. I feel like there's a ton of bias there saying that this is a great movie. Stop saying it's a great movie. It's not a great movie. You guys are crazy biased if you think this is a great movie. The acting's great, I'll give you that, but the story sucks.
Yeah.
There is no what's the word I'm looking for? Like there is no real value or stakes being held that you're wondering what's going to happen. They don't make it that thrilling. And even the speech that he gives in Air, like they try to make it this emotional moment, but you don't know that much. You're not that invested in the characters unless like you grew up with Michael Jordan, that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and they're really relying heavily on the fact that it's Michael they're talking to, and they're expecting people to get emotional when they've really put no stakes at all or value in anything related to Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, they go so far as to not even like Michael Jordan himself is not in the movie, but they go out of their way to not show the person who plays him. Like they don't show his face at all. He's basically a silhouette the entire time. And I get it, I guess. I mean, I no, actually I don't. I don't get it because I'm like, I guess because they're using, you know, video footage of Mike, they don't want to show an actor who doesn't look like that video footage. But at the same time, I'm like, so like we know obviously, you know what I'm saying, he's not going to look alike, but I'm like, what does that matter? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter. So for me, the one thing that I know I came away thinking when I left the theater was this movie was supposed to be released on Amazon Prime, and it very much felt like an Amazon Prime movie. Like it felt like a Prime Video movie instead of a theater release. In every sense of the word. Like Viola Davis did another Amazon Prime movie called Troop Zero a few years ago, and that's exactly what it reminded me of. Was like, oh, this is something you totally watch on streaming. This is a good little 97-minute movie about a topic that you're slightly familiar with, and it's a very straightforward story. To me, that's a direct to streaming kind of movie. This didn't belong at theaters. The only reason it's there is because you have such big name actors in it, and who all do a decent enough job, but there's just nothing nothing else to this movie other than its premise.
I felt like I was watching someone at my company close a big deal. But not in an exciting way, just like they're on the phone and they close it.
Yep, that's it.
That's exactly how I felt like I went into the office and was watching my sales team for the day. Like, that's how this movie made me feel. And I don't want to feel like I'm going into my office when I go to the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right. So final rating, what are you giving Air?
2.5 stars.
I am riding that 2.5 star with you as well. Very, very average for this movie. All right. Before we go into what it was undoubtedly going to be my biggest hurdle to talk about, let's talk about one film that I think both you and I saw that I think we both liked. Did you get a chance to see 1001?
1001. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Let's talk about that real quick. Okay.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God. There's something good to talk
So,
about.
so something good here. So 1001 stars Tiana Taylor, Will Catlett, Josiah Cross, and it's a story about a woman and her son and their life through, I want to say, the late 80s to early 90s, somewhere around that time, and just, growing up and living and trying to live their lives together, and the complications that come with that, with poverty, with love, all these different factors that are factored in. The movie has an crazy emotional, I won't say twist, but like, saying turn that really, really sets the movie apart. So for you, Zach, what did you like about 1001?
Okay, so my favorite part of this entire movie is the twist at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically that you're going through this entire movie, right? Thinking that this woman had her child taken away from her, Terry, and you see Terry growing up with her in New York City, hiding from the police, falsifying his paperwork, so he can go to school. And this whole time you're thinking like she did something in the beginning and he got taken away. And so now she's like trying to make amends and build this relationship and keep her son.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really talk about what happened for him to be taken away. Well, at the end, it kind of reveals that it's actually not her child.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a random child that she was working in child services or something. No, she was working. It's been a minute since I've seen it. She was basically working somewhere though, where he came in, and she was watching after him, and she built a connection with him.
Yeah,
and something happened where she lost her job, and then she tried to get back to him.
mm-hmm.
She went to jail.
Yeah, and and like that twist. Wow, that thing.
She found him. That's what it was.
She
found him as a baby.
Yeah, that shattered me because I'm like, the whole movie you're watching it and you're like, you're just witnessing their life together. And their life is incredibly hard, but they're making it. You know what I'm saying? They're surviving. We're watching this kid grow up. The connections that he makes, with her
Lucky.
Yeah, with Lucky, her fiance, and then her husband, and just the man that he becomes as he gets older. And it's beautiful. It's this beautiful, really genuine family story. And then we get this third act turn that reveals like she basically kidnapped him. And it's like, whoa. And like the movie does a really good job exploring family dynamics, particularly when you are dealing with someone. That level of devotion that she had for him, even though he wasn't technically hers, that's, you can't, regardless of how you feel, like you can't fake that. And I thought Tiana Taylor was incredible in this role. Like genuinely, this is someone who's an artist, and to me I feel like she's a better actress than a musician. And I love a lot of her music, but I'm like, no, she's a way better actress. She really showed that she's got chops. She really showed she's got chops in this one.
Yeah, I just want to talk about that for a second more. What I loved about her acting too, and the way that they wrote the character, was that she wasn't this clean, perfect mom.
Oh no.
Like, she said a lot of messed up things, and what I love about that so much is that you don't get this you know, in a lot of movies, they try to make it like this perfect family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like maybe there's some small troubles, but like in the entire movie, like the entire family screwed up.
Yeah.
Like there's very few redeeming qualities is besides the fact like of the way they love each other and they're loyal to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, it's like really rough, right? Between
Yeah.
especially with the parents and their characters and the kind of people that they are and the way they were brought
Mm-hmm.
up. It is not this neat and pretty family that you're so used to seeing in a lot of Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
It's very realistic. It deals with people, you know, that Hollywood, I feel like, doesn't give a lot of screen time to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really do enjoy the fact that they didn't shy away from that and they went headfirst into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one particular scene that I have to point out, which was just, oh my God. Like it's such a small, subtle scene, but when you think about the movie in context, I love this scene. It's when Terry goes, he's walking around the neighborhood and then he finds Lucky at the basketball court. And they're just talking, just about, who he is and what he's up to and who they are. And then they shoot the ball a little bit. And it's a very subtle scene. But when you think about the fact that Lucky knew this whole time about, Terry, and it's like the fact that both him and his mother knew what kind of situation they put this kid in, and they still felt the need to watch over him, to protect him, to look out for him, and to be parents for him. That just hit me so hard. And I'm like, when you think about, good families and what it means to be a good father, to take care of your kids, something about that, like really subtle scene of just, hey man, we just gonna shoot hoops. You know what I'm saying? After we air out who we are and how we feel, we're gonna shoot hoops. And it's just gonna be that. And I love that scene. I just think it was beautifully shot. I really like the subtlety of it. It's definitely my favorite scene in that movie.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you too. I also like Lucky is not a perfect character through the entire movie. Like at
No.
first he's very cold to Terry, he doesn't talk to him,
Mhm.
and you really kind of see him grow as a character. And I really like the way they did that. I don't it's not a super long movie either. I think it's only a
No.
couple hours.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job with showing us more of his character. And you can kind of see him grow into this father figure Terry looks up to so much. And I really did like that. And also at the end, it shows like he wasn't perfect. Like the mother hid from him that he had another child with another woman.
Hmm.
And like Terry had no idea,
Hmm.
and he made him like this big image of what a man should be. And then he realized, oh wow, he's not even perfect. It's just my
Right.
mother protected me from what was real.
Hmm. Man, I really, really love this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, it was really, really good. Very, really excellent, subtle storytelling. That's what I think I really liked about it. And then you just had three killer performances. Tiana Taylor, Will Catlett, and Josiah Cross really, really brought it in this movie. I loved everything about it. Very naturalistic movie. I think I went with a 4 star. That could probably go up, honestly, because I really did enjoy this.
Yeah, I do believe I also gave it a 4 star, but I agree with you. It could change to 4.5 for me
Yeah.
because I really did love the movie, and it's nothing. What's so great about it is the acting and story makes it, and you don't
Hmm.
need much else outside of that, to be honest.
Exactly. Very naturalistic film. Really, really dope. Like really dope. I could see myself really like rewatching this constantly. I really think it's really excellent storytelling.
Yeah.
So we go from that to this. So we are now talking about Beau Is Afraid. New film by Ari Aster, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Patty LuPone, Nathan Nathan Lane, sorry. Yeah. I'm gonna let Zach lead this. Go ahead, Zach. What did you think of Beau Is Afraid?
Dick monster.
Uh
There is a dick monster in this movie.
Oh
I
my
know
God.
we have a certain rating for this channel, but that I there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, no, there really
There
isn't.
really isn't. Like that his father in the movie is a giant penis
Mhm.
that has teeth and is a monster.
Yes.
And outside of that,
Mm.
I don't have much to say because it doesn't matter what you've put in a movie. It doesn't matter the stakes you've put in a movie. It doesn't matter the story you've put in it. He had his father is a penis monster. It doesn't matter how good you make the first half of it.
Yeah.
His father is a penis monster. And there is no there is no explanation. There is no it tries to be this at the very beginning, it tries to be this realistic movie. I feel like where you're like, okay, this is actually happening to him. And like this is, this is it's supposed to be like real life. No, it's not. And I don't Phoenix, do you even know what the point of that was? I didn't bother to read it. I was just so upset.
All right. Oh, let me stretch. I'm about to tear this movie a new asshole. Okay. This is hands down, the worst movie I have ever seen. And I mean ever seen. And I've seen a lot of bad movies. This takes all of them. Even the worst bad movie that I could think of is better than this simply because it's shorter. Like, this is 3 hours long. It has no business being that damn long. It is surrealism and absurdism on film. And I have to tell this for everybody. Surrealism does not work on film. It doesn't work on film. I don't care what anybody says. It's cute. It's a very clever tool. I understand that a lot of people enjoy surrealism, and sometimes in small doses, it works. But when you do a 3-hour-long film where you throw in multiple aspects of surrealism and absurdism, you have completely lost the plot. The plot of this story is meaningless. It's meaningless because what you are saying is what you are seeing for 3 hours does not matter. Nothing that happens in the beginning of this film matters by the end of the film. And if you're thinking something that happens in the middle matters by the end of the film, no, nothing matters by the end of this film. And if that's the point, I'm perfectly fine with a movie that basically says nothing matters, everything is everything. Where we only exist in chaos. I'm perfectly cool with a movie that does that, but don't make it 3 hours long. Like, and then there's a dick monster. like we could have had all of that, and I would have been like, okay, this ain't for me. Obviously, I'm not feeling it. Whatever. But then you throw in a dick monster. I wish we were exaggerating. I truly wish we were making it up. Like, I truly wish we were embellishing or being, anything. No. It is an actual penis with a clip art angry face on it, whose testes have now grown sharp nails, whatever, and it's like ram, like dead ass, like that's how we close this movie. And I'm like, I'm all for absurdism. I'm all for surrealism. I don't think either one works on film. I certainly don't think they work for 3 hours long. But I could forgive all of that if this movie had a story that was worth watching. It does not. There are some great shots, don't get me wrong. That scene of his neighbors all going into his apartment, that was hilarious. That was really cool. The whole street of his neighborhood, some really great production design there, some really great photography there. Really liked it. The scenes at the house, you know what I'm saying? There's some really great stuff there as well.
Yeah.
It's just once we leave that part of the story, it careens downhill really fast and really hard, and nothing matters by the end of it. And it is you feel how much of a waste of time it is. Like, you genuinely feel it.
I think the part where it goes downhill for me is when the daughter, who is with the family that takes Beau in after they hit him, when she drinks the paint, that's where I'm like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because the problem with this movie is everything leading up to that is like super realistic. Totally could happen.
Right.
100% could happen. I mean, not everyone running in your house, maybe, but you get what I'm saying. Like, okay, like that's still a possibility. Someone drinking paint to prove a point, that's where you start losing me. And then they use the army guy that they have there as a hound with his tracking bracelet, which never gets explained, or the camera set like they're spying on him. The mom keeps leaving him weird notes. That never gets explained. It never gets touched on ever again in the movie. None of it, like Phoenix said, none of that matters. At the end of the movie, none of that ever gets explained. None of it matters. It just happens. And it's just like, why? What? If you're gonna make a movie, make the point all the way across, not sporadic. Because the movie changes in direction so many times after that.
Like,
and you're like, where is this going?
Like, honest to God, like you just hit the nail on the head. Like, once we leave that house, the direction this movie goes in changes like 20 different times. Like, no exaggeration. It changes so many times. You think, okay, we're going down this path now. No, now we're switching gears to do this. Okay, now we're switching gears to do that. Okay, now we're switching gears to do this. And like, here's my thing. Like I said, the reason why I say surrealism doesn't work on film is because you have to connect two irrational ideas to each other. And the further apart that those ideas are, the harder it is to connect them. So like, I could talk about his neighbor leaving notes under his door about, the noise that he isn't making, and connect that to his key being stolen. You know what I'm saying? I could do that. But I can't connect him not being able to drink water with his pills to this girl drinking paint. Like, I'm like, these two things are not, they don't exist anywhere on the same plane. And
or when he goes to the forest. Right?
Nothing,
like the whole forest scene is point, like, it's so stupid because he's trying to make it to his mother, and then he stumbles upon a camp and he just stays there for no reason whatsoever, where he supposedly thinks he meets his father. And then he gets drawn into this daydream of the play. It makes no sense. Like, there's no point in that daydream at all.
And like, I think of other surrealist movies that I've seen. The one that comes to mind is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I'm Thinking of Ending Things I did not like very much, but there are moments of it I'm like, yo, that was cool. Like that was cool. But what pissed me off about it entirely is like I cannot stand movies that are so concerned with being uh so absurdist and so surreal that they no longer care about the audience. Like you no longer care about the audience's experience and you don't care about how it's going to play to your audience. And you're basically like, I'm sure if I talked to Ari Aster, he could tell me exactly what each scene in this movie represents, what it's about, whether it's an homage to, and what, how he was using it. And I'm sure he could do that. The problem with that is then you look like a pretentious like you look like you're jacking off in your hands and licking your fingers at that point because all you're doing is saying to your audience, I'm smarter than you. Like, I know how this connects. I know what this is. You don't know. You don't get it. You're not high minded. And I'm like, I don't have to be high minded to know that you handed in a piece of crap. Like, you handed in a full blown piece of crap. And because I haven't read the 18 references that you're making to this movie, I'm somehow not enlightened enough to enjoy it. I guarantee you the majority of people haven't read all your references to this movie, and therefore you just made something that you could swallow yourself. It's not a good movie. And we talked about Air being overrated. This is being ridiculously overrated. The amount of people who are chewing this up and loving it, I'm blown away by. To me, this is the worst movie I have ever seen. And even if I knew the connections, that even if I read Homer's Odyssey and I read Oedipus and and I knew all of these stories and all of that, I would still be very, very much turned off by this movie because it's not a movie that you deliver to an audience. It's
I kind of agree with you, Phoenix. It kind of feels like this is Ari Aster's stab at being someone who's affluent, like, and of culture, and feels like he knows things that that society should know, and he's like above everyone else in way of thinking, and it's just not it. It's just a stupid movie. It's not the audience's fault for not understanding something, because you basically draw these super what's the word I'm looking for, like the points are so far between, like where you're trying to draw this line and you're expecting people to follow you all the way, and it's just not, it's not possible. It really isn't.
And it's just too long, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're trying to connect these points in something that really, like, if you're trying to make a point, make it to where people can at least get a meaning or understanding of it, not this super far out view that you're trying to take and make it like a normal thing.
And it's like it's within every scene. It's not like it's like there are the connections between this scene in the first act and this scene in the second, but mainly it's like 4 different scenes in the first are its own metaphor or allusion to something else. And it's like that in the third act, especially. It's 20 different scenes that are an allusion to something else. When we see the penis monster, right? The penis monster isn't, the idea is it's so absurd that it can't be real, but so much of this movie is based in his reality.
Right.
So it's hard to tell. Is it real? Is it not? But if you take it that it's not, and that this penis monster is just an embodiment of his father, who's
his dad's a major dick.
his dad's a dick, right? Like, okay, cool, but like to me, it just felt very amateurish, like very amateurish, like everything. Like when you think, like, no offense, but when you think of how much dick jokes are in this, like not jokes, but like, you know, plays on dicks are in this movie. It's like, what is this dude, 11? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like this is like a high-minded American Pie. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not elevated to that point that you think it is. It's really
Beau is Stifler.
Right, exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's not that high-minded. It's very lowbrow, and that's why, like, I said, like, I felt like he was trolling. I feel like this whole movie is a troll. Like, and he just convinced a bunch of people that he made high art when really he was just trolling y'all, and just to see how many of y'all would fall for it. I ain't fall for it. This was trash in my opinion.
I mean, to be fair, if the point was that it is a trash movie, that he falsely tried to make people who think they're high and mighty think that it's a great movie.
But then he succeeded.
Then he succeeded. Yeah, right. Exactly. But
then it's a success. Like, but all right. So Zach, what are you giving Beau Is Afraid?
I had it 2.5, but I honestly may bump that down. Probably bump that down. Yeah.
I have it at the lowest I could have it, which is a 0.5 star. I honestly would put this under the negatives. Like, this is a negative 5-star movie.
The only reason I left it at 2.5 is because the beginning felt like it could have gone somewhere.
Yes, the beginning
felt
is
like
solid.
It could have gone somewhere.
Yeah, it's so weird because the beginning feels like it's telling a straightforward narrative.
Yeah,
and then the rest of the movie just says, "Yeah, screw all that." Like, so. Yeah, no. For me, 0.5 star, the lowest rating I could possibly go. I genuinely wish I could go lower for that movie. So that's Beau Is Afraid for us. So we've talked Super Mario Bros, Air, Evil Dead Rise, 1001. What am I missing? Beau Is Afraid. Like, that's a lot. Am I missing anything? Did we talk about anything else? Oh yes, we have one more movie to talk about. We have one more movie to talk about, and that is the last one that we both saw, which is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So this is a Judy Blume novel that was that's been adapted into a movie. This is about a young girl going through, you know, a move to a new city, meeting new friends, new people, and, you know, how she discovers growing up in this new world that I guess she's entering into adolescence. Yeah, Zach, what did you think of this movie?
Honestly, I thought it was great. It's just the only thing with this movie. It's very hard for a man growing up to relate, because it is literally about female puberty. Like, that's what the movie's about. And the reason I say that it's still great is there were a lot of moments where I felt myself laughing and I was invested in the characters. Like, the acting's great, and I really think it's a very good coming of age story, and I can appreciate that. It's just a rating, and the way that I view this movie is more so from a perspective of, you know, do I feel like it speaks to other people? Like, do I feel like it reaches the audience it's trying to reach? And the answer is yes. It definitely does that. And so I think it's a great movie. It's just, like I said, not one that I can relate to as much.
Yeah, this one was a little interesting because it was a coming of age film. It was also a kind of coming, I don't want to say coming to Jesus film, but like definitely a coming of religion film. I guess you could call it that. And you know, and on top of it being kind of like a young comedy, um, it's got a great cast. I mean, Abby Ryder Forston, who plays Margaret, excellent. She's going to be a great actress going forward. Rachel McAdams is in this. Love Rachel McAdams. Kathy Bates, Benny Safdie. Solid cast. I am of the mind. I'm very much like Zach. I felt deeply uncomfortable watching this movie, especially because I tend to go to the movies by myself. So I'm like, you know, a single guy alone in a movie theater watching a movie about adolescent puberty. You know, I'm like, and it didn't help that I had like two people sit directly next to me. Even though it was like 8 people in the theater and you could have sat anywhere. I was
Phoenix
like,
is like, can I laugh?
right. I'm like,
am I allowed to
I
laugh at
felt,
this?
yeah, I felt like I was on candid camera. I'm like, bro, like, I don't know what you think I'm gonna be doing in here, but no. And that's another reason. That's another reason why the movie kind of made me a little uncomfortable. Um, you know, I, I'm okay with adolescent puberty. Obviously, it's natural. It's something that has to happen, obviously. But you know, I couldn't help but as I'm watching this movie and think like there's some scenes in here where I'm like, if there was a really creepy, disgusting guy in that theater, I can't help but think he would love this movie. like, like that's all I kept thinking is like, there are some scenes in here where I'm like, why are we seeing this? Like, you know, like there's a particular scene where we see one of the kids in a two-piece bathing suit and she's walking through the sprinkler like in slow motion, like, you know, modeling, and I'm like, why? I'm like, why? We even see her like protrude her chest out so like she can show like she's growing you know, bosoms, and I'm like, again, why? Like, there's another scene where our main character, Margaret, is she's practicing with a pad, and like we see her pull down her underwear, and it stays there. It stays on her underwear. I'm literally like in the theater going, why are we seeing this right now? Like this is like deeply unnerving. Why do we need to see this? I'm like, I'm all for the exploration of this, but I feel like it's unnecessarily graphic, especially as an older male watching it. I'm like, this is nothing I want to see. Like, it might be perfect for its target audience, no question. But I know for me, I was very touch and go with this movie.
I feel like because I feel like if you're a mom and you bring your daughter, like your young teenage preteen daughter to see this, like this, that would be an appropriate movie for you to watch together as like a mother and a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's different. But yeah, you're right. Going as a single grown man, you're kind of like, should I be here right now?
Yeah.
Am I on a watch list? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are some funny parts. Like the whole I think it's funny the way that kids perceive like the way that they like grow up, like the whole I must increase my bust. Like they feel like that's gonna give them a bigger chest when they're older. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, but at the same time, like you're saying, like I can also see where like maybe there's a creep in the movie and like oh yeah, you know, like, that makes me like kind of sick, but like it makes me feel sick. But overall, I thought that whole bit was funny. Like just like the ideas that kids come up with that they think is like, this is what I do to become like a woman, or even for guys maybe it's something different, and maybe guys do something different at that time period where it's like this is what I got to do to be a man, And so like I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, and I mean the movie does have its funny moments. I love the scene where they go and buy the pads and then
Oh
they're
yeah.
slowly moving on the conveyor belt and she
And there's a
throws the Tic
teenage
Tacs.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just throws the Tic
The
Tacs on top
teenage
of
softies.
right. I'm like,
Yeah.
to me that was hilarious. Like that was a cool, funny scene. Yeah, and I love Rachel McAdams. And she kills it no matter what role she's in. I absolutely loved her character. I thought she was amazing. And she was solid. She played the mother role really, really well. Being surprised that all of her daughters are inquisitive, questions, and understanding that this is a point in her life where she's gonna have those questions. She's gonna want to know more than you may feel like she needs to know at that time. And I thought she played that very well. My biggest issue came in the conflict of the movie, which is her husband is Jewish, her parents are Christian, and they cut her off because she married, a Jewish man. Uh and the whole like the parents come over and his mom comes over and they're arguing, oh, she's Jewish, she's Christian. I was just like, why does this matter? I'm like, if this is the height of your conflict,
See,
I
I don't think that was the height of the conflict, though. I think that was part of her figuring out who she wants to be as a woman. But I don't think that was the entire conflict. I think because there's other times too where she's like, is this the right thing to do? Am I being a good person when I do things like this? Stuff like that. And it's funny you because you think this is like pro religion. To me, being Christian, this is a very anti-religion movie. Like that's how I felt leaving
this
it.
is so weird. I don't know why you think that.
No, because right, like okay, so like I personally, like a little bit about me, backstory, I grew up atheist, and listen, I don't care what anyone is, what all our viewers, I love all of you. It doesn't matter what religion you are.
Right.
I don't care about that. I love you all the same. But for me, growing up, I personally was atheist, and I kind of strayed away from Christianity for a while because a lot of people there was a lot of hurt from a lot of people who claim to be Christian. And I kind of found my own personal faith with Christianity later on. But no, I felt like this was anti-religious because the way that they portray the Christians and the Jewish family, like the shove it down your throat, you're gonna choose, like that to me is not when people watch that, that's not a positive thing about religion.
No.
It's not like the whole, you're gonna be Jewish, you're gonna be Christian, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that. Like for me growing up, like if someone said that to me, like that's not a positive thing. And the way where she goes, I don't want any of it. Like that to me was upsetting because a lot of people do feel like that's how religion is. It's these people who are constantly shoving it down your throat. Although she keeps continuing to say, like at the end, she even asked, "Hey God, are you there? It's me, Margaret," like the title. Like at the end, yes, she does ask that, but she never chooses a religion. She's just claiming that there's a God, which for me, it's hard to watch that because it's like she's not really claiming anything to believe in. She just wants to believe like there's something.
Right.
And so that's why I don't think it's pro religion. I don't think that at all. I think it's very anti-religion. You see what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Like
I get what you're saying. And that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm like I said, I go back to the height of the conflict seems to be that the question of religion. And to me, like when I see faith-based films, right, they lay it on very thick, right? So to me, I'm like, this was that just on a smaller scale. Instead of like laying it on thick and it being, a part of every aspect of the movie, it was just really reduced to the major conflict of the film. And to me, that was just like, oh, okay. I
But
was
even
like,
then, I don't feel like it was a major conflict. I feel like the major conflict itself was a combination of all these things where she's deciding who she wants to be as a woman, right? Because there's several scenes, right, where she finds out, oh, my friend lied to me. There's a point where she lied about who she liked, right? There's a point where she finds out that, oh, my friend actually made up stories about someone else to feel better about herself and like said these hurtful, awful things. And like, do I want to associate myself with these kind of people? You know, and I felt like honestly that on top of the religion and on top of, you know, like the relationship she has with her family, I felt like it was a multitude of things, not just. And I think that maybe it's because like there were certain parts where I feel like they kind of had to fill in the story to make it a little bit longer. So maybe that's why they added a little more parts to the religion side than not. But even still, she's dealing with this like adolescent hierarchy of, you know, what group am I in, you know, and who do I want to be? And I felt like that was definitely more of the thing. Even with the mother, right? Like the mother herself is trying to figure out who she is after moving. Like she's trying to figure out where she fits in this new life. And so I really felt like the major conflict for me was what kind of woman do I want to grow into? You know, who do I want to be?
and
That's what I felt.
yeah, and I definitely do think they do an excellent job of tackling all of those aspects of adolescence and coming into your own, and you know, deciding who you want to be and who you want to be friends with, and all of that stuff. I think happens right around that time, right, when you're like you're at that age where you're like uh well, not that nobody can tell me anything anymore, but that you're inquisitive enough to inquire things on your own, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you inquire about, you know, your body. You inquire about, you know, your faith and your friends, and you know,
Yeah.
the kind of person, and all of those things add to your self-image, right? Your faith, your friends, your inner circle, you know, all of that stuff. So I do think they do an excellent job in really executing that premise. It's got some really unnecessary moments, I think, in the movie. Some very graphic moments that I don't think need to be in there. It does have some humor to it. I could see myself watching this again, but if I watch it again, I'm watching it with my daughter. I'm not watching this by myself. Like, it just feels awkward. So what are
Yeah,
you
you
giving?
don't invite the guys over like, hey, what do you
Yeah,
want?
yeah,
Hey
no,
guys, it's me, Margaret.
no, God, yeah, no. If we're having a movie party with guys and y'all say, "Hey, let's watch Are You There, God? It's me, Margaret."
Oh, yeah, are you there,
I'm
guys?
kicking you out because you're the one. All right. So what are you giving this movie?
I think for content and what it's trying to achieve, I gave it 4 stars. And the acting solid too. Like the acting's great.
Yeah. I'm kind of there with you on what it says and what it ultimately does. I'm sorry, that gross out stuff was really it was really unsettling for me. So I settled on a 3.5. I do like this movie. I do think it has some value in it. And like I said, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Mothers and daughters will eat this up. This is a brilliant film for mothers and daughters. So for that demographic, I think they'll absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Single dads, probably not as much.
Yeah. Or
So,
or just a single guy in general.
just a single guy, like, yeah, no, this ain't the one. All right, so we went through a lot of films there on our final wrap up of season 3 Film Code. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you check out some of these movies that we talked about. Let us know your thoughts on them. You guys can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Film Code Pod. And Zach, let everybody know where they can find you, sir.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Zach Sneath. That is ZachSneeath. And you can find me on Letterboxd at ZSneaks. That is ZSNEAKS.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Twitter at IamHOReviews1. That's the number 1. And on Letterboxd under PA Clouden. And as always, guys, like I just said, please follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at Film Code Pod. We will see you guys next season. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.